All right, we are live.
All right. So this is the Rollingwood Park Commission meeting for June 1st, 2021. It is 9:33 a.m. We have quorum. And I will start with the roll call. If I can get, there we go. As people appear on my screen, Don Hudson,
Here.
Chad Smith,
Here.
you can wave something there, wave, cool.
Here.
Cole Marisi,
Here.
David Raymond,
Here.
and Phil McDuffie is here. And we're hopefully soon we'll have Mary Elizabeth Kofer. So start with public comments. Citizens wishing to address the Park Commission on items not on the agenda will be received this time. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, the Park Commission is restricted to discussing or taking action on items, or is restricted from not taking action on items not listed on the agenda. Citizens who wish to address Park Commission regarding matters on the agenda will be received at the time the item is considered. And all you guys need to do is raise your hand. I do see Alec has your hand raised. If you can unmute yourself, we will recognize you at this time. Or that's, oh, I had my, you didn't have your hand raised. I had my cursor over your name and it has a hand raised. Sorry.
Yeah, I have comment, but I'll wait. till they're
Okay,
done.
very good. Seeing no hands, we will move on. All right, to the regular consent agenda. All consent items listed are considered to be routine by the Park Commission and may be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of consent agenda items unless a board member has requested the item be discussed, in which case the item may be removed. Consent agenda, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So discussion and possible action regarding the minutes from May 4th, 2021, Park Commission meeting. Does anyone have any concerns to raise on that? Welcome, Mary Elizabeth. Seeing none, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes.
As they currently exist? Do I
Yeah.
see a second? I saw a
Second.
hand. Second by Don. Take a voice vote. All those in favor, aye, or wave a hand or do something.
Aye.
Go. Any opposed? Motion, the minutes are approved unanimously. Item number 3, update from Western Hills Girls Softball and Western Hills Little League. Steve, unmute yourself. There you go.
Yeah, thank you very much. Not much going on. We do, from the softball side, we have one team, our 12U team that has an all-star team that's still playing. They've got a warm-up tournament this weekend, and then they start the official pony kind of qualifying for World Series. So we will hope that they will be practicing up at Hadley through at least the end of June. So they are practicing Tuesday nights and Thursday nights. And that's all on field 2 and a batting cage. So that's really the only activity softball has. I don't know, Chad, did Little League have any all city teams that are still practicing up there or anything?
You know, I've asked that question and I haven't gotten an answer yet. We may be using field 1, but we won't be using fields 3, 4, and 5 to my knowledge.
So that's very limited activity from the teams and the kids up there right now.
Okay, great. Appreciate it. All right. And I know that we're still waiting on fencing, that type of stuff, and I know you're on top of it. So
Yeah,
we only
so
need-
discount's still giving me a really hard time. I kind of gave him an ultimatum, kind of like after we talked about last time, and he said he was having personal issues and he'd get me everything I needed by the next day. And it's been a week and a half and he hasn't responded again. So I think I'm moving on to the next one. And the thing is because we were doing two-part bids, I wanted to get that second part of the bid before, I want to make sure I know both amounts before I commit to the first one, I think. So that's the
Okay.
update on that.
Well, thank you for staying on top of that. Really greatly appreciated by everybody. All right, moving on. Discussion and possible action addressing neighborhood concerns and feedback of the proposition from Tiny Boxwoods Austin LLC for the purposes of operating a milk and cookies walk-up food service in Rollingwood Park. Brian?
Phil,
Oh, yes.
Okay, am I on?
Amber? Yes. Oh, well, hold
can you
on.
hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, my computer just froze. I was wondering, are you going to take up number 10 so y'all can discuss the first?
I was hoping to wait until Lori showed up for that, because I want as much available as possible. And I'm hoping Lori to show up before other people have to drop off. That's what I'm doing on that right now. But thanks for keeping me straight, because we had discussed that earlier and I said that's what I was going to do. But since Lori's not here, I want as many of us available to discuss it as a group at that time.
I just, Phil, I just received a text that Lori's not going to be here till 10 a.m.
Okay. And what time do you need to bounce off, David?
10:30.
10:30. Okay. So we'll shoot for, hopefully we can bounce it in at 10. All right. All right, Brian, I would like to hear from you regarding Tiny Boxwood.
I had a number of thoughts in a tirade last time we met in early May. Since then, I've done a little bit of research and found out from a prior park commission member that we've spent $80,000 of city money on the master plan, the updated 2018 master plan for the park, including taking hundreds of hours of citizen time to get feedback as to what they wanted the park to be, none of which included a coffee shop and restaurant on Rollingwood Drive. I find it at least ironic that the paper says that we are, oops, that's all backwards, or is it? Rollingwood City Council discusses cut through traffic on Riley at the same time we are discussing creating a reason to cut through Rollingwood on Rollingwood Drive to have coffee and get your lunch or whatever you might do for this milk and cookies thing. And I just wonder why Riley Road is more important than Rollingwood Drive, which doesn't seem to fit to me. My real objection and my real new point that I want everybody to meet, and particularly our two council members who are here, is a question of whether we've done an RFP or in any way looked at the issue of, are we getting the best deal if we chose to go forward with this thing? You know, normally public organizations have to go out and do some kind of looking and checking rather than simply taking the first deal that comes along. And the reason for that is to
Brian,
maintain
you're
the
freezing up
visibility.
on us, or at least from me.
All right. The
Maybe it's
reason.
me. Okay.
Okay. The reason for the requirement.
I'm hearing him.
The reason for the requirement is that it doesn't look good if somebody comes to the city council and said, I want to do this, and without any other consideration to determine whether we're getting the best deal, it kind of smells a little if it's rammed through like the first offer that you get. So I am very concerned about whether we're getting the best deal if we go do this thing. I'm firmly against doing it at all, but I'd like to have the city attorney and the city council answer the question of why we're not checking to see this is a good deal. That's all I've got today.
Thank you, Brian.
Great, thank you.
I have my hand raised if you wanted me to
speak from the city council perspective.
We've lost Phil.
I think we lost Phil. Go ahead, Whitney.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that this is a proposal that has been presented in the public by RCDC. It has not come to the city council yet. There has not been a recommendation for it to come to city council yet. And so we are not at the stage where we would have considered those items of an RFP. Cut through traffic is something that's important to me, but just in the time frame that we're in right now, we have a proposal by a board or commission that is being discussed in public to see if it's a compatible use with our park. And it would be up to that board or commission to make a recommendation to the city council whether or not they wanted to recommend the project, and they have not done that yet. So that's where we are.
I too would just like to make a clarification that the city didn't spend $80,000 on the park master plan. It was 18,000.
Okay, I may have misunderstood. It's still real money from the treasury.
Sure, it's just that is a lot higher than what was actually spent. Alex, you have your
Amber,
hand
since Phil dropped off, do you want to keep the meeting running, or?
Are we taking
Yes,
an action?
ma'am.
on this?
Okay.
Alec, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, so my name is Alec Robinson. I'm at 4818 Rollingwood Drive. I know Jess and Diane Butler had sent a memorandum with some good questions, and I think, you know, maybe we'll get to hear from them today, but if anyone hasn't read that, their concerns are very valid, and I agree with all the points that they make in their letter to the Park Commission and to the RCDC. I think all those questions deserve answers before any proposal like this should get any consideration. I also just wanted to make a comment. I think if the council, just about the comment about the RFP, I think if the council had just said, look, guys, RCDC, we don't send us anything until you've done some work on checking, like if this is a good deal or getting other proposals. I think that that's something that should happen. Like, why would it ever make it to city council for consideration if RCDC hasn't done some homework beforehand? So that's just one point. But really a couple points I wanted to make right here are, you know, the points that I really wanted to add here are, firstly, you know, I don't believe that this proposal is compatible with the intent of how this park was supposed to be used to support youth athletics in the West Bank area. You know, Rollingwood purchased this park promising to keep it safe and secure for future generations of kids to play sports. I don't believe entering into a commercial lease of parkland to a company that operates a modern take on a coffee shop that operates 7 days a week, 14 hours a day is in keeping with that promise. Secondly, it's not like this location is the only place where this business can be successful in Rollingwood. We have a commercial corridor that would be perfect. A business like this could also help grow awareness of and bring a high-end branding to our commercial district. Perhaps other upscale businesses would follow their lead and choose to locate on Bee Cave Road. That would be amazing. Finally, do not let the owners of Tiny Milk and Cookies suggest that this business won't work on Bee Cave Road. They're currently building a location in Memorial that has an address on the Katy Freeway. Let that sink in. That's Interstate 10 for you guys that don't know the Houston area. Clearly, they don't have a distaste for high traffic thoroughfares. The owners can locate this and will do well on Bee Cave Road. By the way, all the Tiny Milk and Cookies are located in commercial districts. There's not one located in a community park. Why is that? We should never carve out a portion of our parkland for commercial businesses that clearly are not in keeping with the intended use of this park. We should fight to preserve the park as we promised we would in 1993 when we purchased it. That's all I have to say. My wife is actually, I don't know if she can jump in on this Zoom. She's right here and she has something she wants to say. Would that be okay?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Kendall Robinson, Alex's wife. I also, I just want to share that we strongly oppose considering the Rolling Wood Park as a park zone and considering it for commercial real estate. It is 100% a park zone. Milk and Cookies would be an absolute amazing addition to Rollingwood, but it belongs in the commercial real estate developments. My really big concern is traffic. It would be extreme and it would be an attraction for individuals all over Austin. Increased traffic will be dangerous for the children, the adults in the neighborhood, and we feel this could increase crime in our residential area. I have a friend in Houston who just saw a security guard that is monitoring the parking lot in one of the Tiny Boxwoods in Houston and, excuse me, the Milk and Cookies in Houston. And I mean, what does that say? There's a security guard because clearly, you know, there needs to be, because there could be potential crime or, you know, a safety issue. That's all that I have.
Great. I have connectivity issues, guys. So I dropped off temporarily, but I'm back.
Alec.
Thanks. John Hinton.
Yes. Excuse me. My name is John Hinton. I live at 2 Jeffrey Cove. And I think what we need to think about is what do we know about where we are right now and what we feel about this proposal. There's things I'd like to make a point of. Number one, the 2018 Park Master Plan assumes the geographical integrity of the park, of our existing park. So if we're to
Is anybody else having a hard time hearing him?
I
alter
am.
that,
John,
we need to go
Yeah.
John, we're
your
having,
connection is very unstable.
to amend
John, you've got
the
a bad connection.
existing
I think he might be
Park
frozen.
Master
John,
Plan.
if you can call in, there's a phone number on the
Second.
agenda that you can call in. We might be able to understand you more clearly.
The recent survey that we all participated in, the best empirical data
Just
we
a
have at the
delay.
present time.
happening with him. So
as
he's
to the
muted now, but it's still continuing.
consensus of our residents.
I'm trying to call his landline.
Great. Thank you, Mary Elizabeth.
And we had when the strike.
Right there, maybe is there anybody
Okay.
else who wants to wait until he's able to call in or wants to talk while he's trying to call in?
Yeah, we can
Wallace.
hear from Diana. Diana, if you can unmute yourself. There we go.
that work?
That worked.
Really, I don't have much to say except for the old song, they paved paradise and put up a parking lot. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Diana. I know you live on Rollingwood Drive and there may be concerns about traffic on that too. So, John, we see you with the phone. We don't hear you yet. Alec, you still have your hand raised. So do you, Diana, if you can unraise your hands unless you want to speak again.
So Phil, maybe while John's still trying to call in, would the commission like to discuss this item? And then we'll see, I'll ping you when we see John
Sure.
come up.
Anyone who wants to shout out about this or discuss, raise your hand or just start talking. Many of us are muted. Anybody? Don?
Well, I hear most of the comments are negative about this idea, and
John has his hand up.
Oh, he does, but he's still on the phone. We can't hear from him.
Don's talking.
Is John ready to talk?
We'll be able to see him call in on a phone number when he calls in. So
Right,
his video
right.
will be on, but he'll join
Right.
again on a phone.
Right. So go ahead, Don.
I agree with the opposition to this idea. It's inappropriate. It's not about sports. It's a poor idea for the neighborhood, the traffic, the whole thing. It's so wrong for the park. And I've read the letters that have come in about it that were part of the agenda, and they're just right on. So I'm opposed for all the reasons that have been stated so far, and some that haven't been brought up yet. I'm opposed. That's really all I got.
Great. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll go ahead. I haven't read one positive or review from any resident in Rollingwood, and I think that just speaks volumes in and of itself. I personally don't agree with a plan like that. I do agree with Alec and other people that it's a misuse of our parkland. And if we need concession stands, we have ways and means to do that already built, that we need to discover what we can do with those. So I'm personally opposed as well.
Appreciate it. Is the 5155 number, is that you, John?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
We'd love to hear from you now, John.
Okay, I'm sorry, all this communication problem. My name is John Hinton. I live at 2 Jeffrey Cove. And what I'd like to talk about is what we know right now about the proposal, and not what we feel about it. And there's 3 points I'd like to make. The first point is the 2018 Park Master Plan assumes the geographical integrity of our existing park. Now, if we want to change that, obviously there's a way to do that. It was done in 2018. It took a lot of people's input, but that to me is what needs to be adjusted before anything could be done to address this proposal. The second point is that the recent survey that I participated in, and I'm sure y'all did too, is the best empirical data that we have available as to the consensus opinion of our residents in regard to the use of the park. And we will have that information available when the strike force completes its work I understand they're parsing through the survey data, but from all early indications, there's overwhelming consensus in that survey relative to keeping the park the way it is. The third point is that we know that the Milk and Cookies proposal is for the city to give up parkland for a 20-year period for an annual lease amount that will not pay for park maintenance over that 20-year period. And we also know that the city could be very well be dealing with a multinational corporation at some point in that 20-year period. Those are my comments. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Yes, this is Jess Butler.
Hi, Jess. Would love to hear from you.
I was having difficulty with my computer again, and I don't want to take more than just 2 minutes. I agree with what's been said, and I want to express my appreciation to the RCDC, Barry Del Cambri. He really did a good job of listening at the last meeting and expressed concern and wanted to address those. And I'm so appreciative of the Park Commission for discussing this today and keeping minutes to share both pro and con with the City Council and others. I live directly across the street from the park, and last night had a phone call from my longtime neighbor, Flo Macklin, a community leader. I mean, started with others, the West Bank Librarian, Balcones Canyon Land, and a true leader for the state of Texas, not just Rollingwood. But she has extreme concerns. The driveway that enters the park is right in front of her front yard. And at the 2020 meeting of the RCDC meeting, the owner of Milk and Cookies, and please know, we are not speaking against Milk and Cookies. I wish it was called something else, because no one can be against Milk and Cookies, right? But this is a full restaurant menu that's open 14 hours a day. They open before, of course, to get ready for the sales. And at night, they get out and mop the place and empty trash barrels and they pick up the litter. Constant traffic at the 35th Street location. But the owner said at the 2020 February 13th meeting that he projected 75,000 meal tickets and that it was $1 million revenue, an average cost of $14.50 for each ticket. And obviously, if you just divide 75,000 points of sale, now that would be for one sale, one ticket would be for a husband, wife, and 3 children. That's one ticket. So the idea, if you just divide 75,000 by 365 days, now they're not open on Christmas Day, and I'm sure other holidays are respected as well. But if you do that, just take 365, that's 205 sales a day average. But that was for the $1 million. It was reported at the last RCDC meeting that the sales last year, not the 2020 sales, but this year, as last year, was 1.5 million. Well, unless they dramatically increase prices of tickets, that is over 100,000 meal tickets a year. There's only one little road that goes in and one road that comes out. And any car lights or cars are right in front of my neighbor's front yard. That's 274 sales a day, every day of the year, 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, 270 average for the year. If 50% of those are car traffic, that's 137 cars pulling in that one driveway and pulling out. That's just the current numbers. So I would ask you to look carefully at the safety of the children who were there. And my neighbor, Alec Robinson, mentioned that the 1993 warranty deed said that the use of the park would be restricted to park and recreational purposes consistent with, and then it mentioned the fields. Well, this is the commercial business. There is commercial space. There's a large furniture store just closing right there in Mira Vista, 7,000 square feet. It's designed for a restaurant. It's empty right now. The owner said he thought the owner would subdivide. They could have 1,000 square foot with restrooms if they wanted it right now in Rollingwood. And it wouldn't, it's vacant right now as we speak in the Trader Joe's parking lot. But again, I don't want to take your time. I've shared my list of 22 questions, and I would much prefer to hear the Park Commission discuss it. But clearly, this traffic is going to make it dangerous for that 8-year-old riding up to get a $4 cookie. I mean, it's not going to be safe for children in the park with that kind of traffic. And a commercial business open every day of the week, that many hours, 14 hours a day, is really disruptive, not just to Rollingwood neighbors. And the idea that they might sell to the Western Hills Athletic Club, they're getting ready to put in 4 tennis courts instead of having the 2. I'm a member there. I love being a member of Western Hills. But if they turn that into a cafe open restaurant over in Western Hills, the parking's going to go down Wallace Drive on both sides. It'll look like Stratford Drive on Saturday morning. So I would ask you, please, look carefully, look at the questions I submitted. I want you to know I do appreciate the mayor and others bringing in business to the community. I think that's terrific, but I certainly hope you can keep all commercial business of this nature in the commercial zone. We're not opposed at all to people parking and Rollingwood Drive and playing, sports. The families that are there every day, walking dogs. There was a family playing yesterday in the park. A grandfather, it looked like, and a son with elementary age kids playing ball. That's what the park really should be about. Families coming together and playing. I have 5 grandchildren and 7 nieces and nephews that visit and they play in that park. I'd like to keep it safe for them, and I appreciate you letting me share my views and also the views that I received last night from my friend and neighbor, Flo Macklin. But again, thank you for considering this, and hopefully find a place where this business can come, because I am not opposed to Milk and Cookies. They actually have a drive-through in the alley behind Milk and Cookies. You can phone in and they'll bring it out the alley, and you can drive out the alley right by the dumpsters. It's a commercial zone over there with plenty of parking at night. It's not safe necessarily as far as a lot of traffic coming in and out, but we're getting ready to put that business on Rollingwood Drive with 1 road in and 1 road out for all of the traffic. And I hope you'll look carefully at this. And thank you for letting me share my views today. And best wishes to you as you discuss these issues. That we appreciate the Park Commission making good decisions on our park. Thank you for giving me time to share.
Thanks, Jesse. Mayor Elizabeth Kofer.
Yes. Thank you very much. First of all, I'm just going to say up front, I'm really disappointed that this has even come to us like it has. I don't know whose idea this was. I'm really disappointed. As on the Park Commission, we've been, the last meeting, I don't know how much time we spent trying to come up with parking. We're trying to find parking for these children and their families to get there for softball. And then we turn around, and the next breath, we're trying to take up these parking spaces for a commercial business. And then it was said, why are we trying to put a commercial business in our park? And I believe our mayor says, well, we already have commercial businesses there. Those are fitness oriented businesses. And I think that that's quite a bit different to sell someone a cookie or a cup of coffee, as opposed to someone being there to do yoga or to lead a fitness camp. So I just have to say that being on Park Commission, we're so focused on keeping it open for our families and for the children. And I'm really disappointed we're spending this kind of time on this assault. I'm sorry, I shouldn't call it an assault. I just feel like this really does belong in the commercial corridor. Brian Ryder brought that up at the first meeting. Alec Robinson, Jess Butler, they've all spoke so well about this. I just would like to get back to what we've been dealing with. This isn't in the master plan. We talk about the master plan all the time. Let's get back to business. That's
Sounds
all.
great.
Thank you.
Do I hear any kind of do we have any other discussion?
This is Laurie Mills, and I just want to go on record as saying I am not in favor of this. I too believe that the park and the facilities of the park are meant for children and their activities and not commercial retail businesses. And once we open the door to this, I don't think there's any going back. And that as a resident of Rollingwood Drive, I am strongly against adding more traffic and adding that extra element to our neighborhood, changing the look and feel. And I just want to go on record as not in favor of this. And I agree with Mary Elizabeth Kofer that this is not part of the park commission's, this is not anything that is part of the master plan or in the benefit of the parks themselves and what they originally designated for.
Great. Thank you, Lori, and welcome. Do I hear any kind of a motion for maybe a recommendation to city council or anything like that?
I will make a motion that we as a park commission recommend, do not oh, never mind. I don't even know how to word this. I want to tell them that we recommend that we discontinue any conversation on this. How do you word this?
Maybe
Someone else do the
We do
wording.
not recommend the plan. We do not-
recommend denying.
To find, this is Nicole Marisi, to find, come up with a different location other
Yeah,
than the park.
what I'm hearing is nobody has a problem with them going into our commercial corridor. And right now we do have vacancies available up there, and we probably will be having vacancies come available from time to time up in our commercial corridor. We would love Milton Cookies to go up to our commercial corridor, but going into our park is not recommended. So
we can simply just say we do not recommend a tiny boxwoods plan for the park at this time.
I agree. Keep it simple.
I would go so far as to say we recommend that no commercial retail establishment ever be established in the park. Like, that should not be considered again. But anyway, I'm fine with just limiting it to the tiny boxwoods. But so I wanna coherent.
I think it's always important. I think it's always important to review whenever an opportunity like this arises. So I wouldn't say never in the future not to look at this, but we're talking about this one issue, and that only. And as far as the Parks Commission is concerned, and the usage of our park, we do not recommend it.
Okay.
David, is that your motion?
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion from David Raymond, second. We're going to take a name ballot just to be, so taking the vote as they appear on my screen, Mary Elizabeth Kofer. Where do you stand?
I agree with David. I'll second.
Right.
Can someone repeat the motion so that we know exactly what they're talking about? What we're voting on?
The motion is the Park Commission does not recommend the tiny boxwoods plan for a store in our park.
Could we say maybe the motion is a recommendation to city council to deny the proposal by Tiny Boxwoods
That'll work.
into the park? So that's just, it's a positive rather than a double negative. Okay, so the motion is to deny the recommendation from, or the proposal from Tiny Boxwoods come into the park. And I'm once again back to taking a name vote.
Phil, so David made the original motion. David, would you like to withdraw your original motion? And then Mary Elizabeth Kofer, if so, are you agreeable to also withdrawing your second?
Okay, there's sound.
Or you could say what I'm saying, David. I would rather it come through your name.
Guys, this is getting really confusing for the record. So we need to get organized here. So David, are you going to withdraw your original motion?
If it makes things less confusing, yes.
It would clarify things. Yes. Mary Elizabeth, are you willing
Yes.
to withdraw your second?
Yes.
Bill, will you please make the motion that you just offered? for
Okay,
clarity?
all right. I make a motion that we make a recommendation to city council to deny the proposal from Tiny Boxwoods to establish a milk and cookies store in our park.
Great. Is there a second? Second by
Seconded
David.
by Raymond. David beat you, Mary Elizabeth.
All
All
right.
right, taking a voice,
Gotta be
taking a
fast.
name vote. Mary Elizabeth Cofer,
I approve.
Don Hudson,
Approved.
Chad Smith,
Approved.
David Raymond. Waived, so he
Yeah,
approves.
Of course.
Okay, Nicole Marisi,
Aye.
aye. And Lori Mills.
Aye.
Motion passes, and I of course, aye. So motion passes unanimously to make that recommendation to city council. Thanks one and all. Now I'm going to bounce item number 10 up. So discussion and possible action to move the regular park commission meeting to later in the week or later in the day to accommodate work schedules. And I'm open for discussion.
Yeah, I guess I brought it up, so I might as well just get the conversation started. It is difficult for me to maintain this hour, but I'm open to discussion with everyone else and what their life and their schedule is about too. I know this is a volunteer job for all of us, and I want to make it as convenient to everyone as possible. I just wanted to revisit the idea whether or not this is the right time of the day to do it. As you can see, I've had to get up a few times to man my my work duties at the same time, so it does make it a little bit difficult for me. But let's discuss it.
I am only available Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays.
Would a lunch hour time of the day be helpful, hurtful, or kind of the same as far as early morning?
Lunch hour for me works much better between 11 to 1, I guess, in that area, because I can justify stepping away from my work a little bit.
That works well for me.
That works for me.
That works for me. How about you, Don?
I'm pretty flexible on time. I always prefer early morning for things that have a fixed schedule attached. But
11 is still kind of early morning.
yeah, I'd be okay with 11. It's once a month.
Well, could we do Tuesdays at 11 or 11:30 with a hard stop by 1? What works best for y'all's kind of commitments? Lori, I know that you also have showings and such. How does that work?
Yeah,
on
I
your
mean, my job is not ever set in stone. So I say I could make 11:30 to 1 work.
Tuesdays, 11:30 to 1 works great for me.
Worked great for me as well. Do I hear a motion?
quickest that our commission has come together. Speaking of this real quick, our next meeting is July 6th, which is the holiday weekend still. Do we want to keep that date, or do we want to propose to maybe bump it back a week if we think that the holiday might conflict with our Tuesday meeting, July 6th?
I'm happy to move it.
I'd prefer to move it. I'll miss it if it's July 6th.
Very good.
Okay,
That's fine
can
with
we,
me.
can we step on the motion for the, can I hear a motion on our time, and then we can move on to
Yeah.
discussing bumping the next meeting?
This
Okay,
is Laurie, and I'll make a motion to move our standing meetings to the first Tuesday of every month from 11:30 to 1.
A second.
Motion made by Lori Mills, second by David Raymond.
Aye.
Aye.
Voice vote,
Aye.
Aye.
aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. Now, let's discuss bumping it a week from the 6th. Do I hear a motion in regards to that one meeting in July 6th, going to whatever 7 days after that, so 13th?
Yeah, 13.
I make a motion to change the park commission meeting from Tuesday, July 6th, 2021 to the following week, Tuesday, July 13th, 2021, to accommodate for the holiday travel and schedules.
And starting it at 11:30, right?
Yes, sir. And starting it at 11:30.
Thank you.
I'll
All right.
second it.
Motion by Nicole Marisi, second by Lori Mills. Once again, voice vote. All those in favor say aye or raise a
Aye.
hand.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
How about you, Chad? Aye. Motion, any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. All right, rock and roll, guys. Loving it. Okay, where are we at? Discussion, moving on to item number 5, discussion and possible action to make recommendation to city council regarding the parking along the east side of the ball fields and the relocation of boulders to allow additional parking.
I believe I had submitted this last month, and at that point, we as the commission decided that not enough spaces would be available, and that was my understanding of it. Now, if I've misunderstood that, let me, please bring it to my attention of how we'd like to proceed with this and go from there.
Okay.
Nicole, just from a meeting standpoint, it was tabled to this meeting at the end of last month's item.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Ashley. So Lori and I, during our March park walkthrough, we were looking at that east side of the walking trail, and the boulders are kind of sporadic and not consistent. And we thought, well, gosh, if we were able to realign the boulders closer to the walking trail, could we get some parking in there that would make some logical sense? And so I took a couple pictures, kind of spaced it out, showing what we have versus what we could have. And again, if this is something that we feel as a commission that would be worth investigating, I'm happy to continue on and dive deeper into it. If we think that it's splitting hairs until we have an actual proposal of, purposeful designated parking spaces, I'm agreeable with that as well. Does anyone have a strong position either way, or?
Mary Elizabeth, you speaking? You're muted, Mary Elizabeth. You have to unmute.
When Chad and I did our walkthrough, we took a look at that, and I think I don't think that we're going to gain a lot of parking by moving those over. And what we both talked about is the safety of the children. If you move them much closer, given the size of the vehicles people drive there. However, I do think that by lining them up more thoughtfully, we could at least make it safer for cars driving through there. What we both noticed is that those do provide a real safe harbor for the children walking there. So that's my main thought. I don't think you're going to find a lot more parking there by moving those stones about. And that's my main thought on that.
Okay, thank you. Don?
When we talk about that's a substantial improvement or a substantial change to the park, what we ran into with our work on making a connecting trail is that there's the park master plan that everything has to, everything is a part of that. And so I'm not sure.
Well, Don, the park master plan, once again, is recommendations. It's
understood.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the only real integrated body of thought we have on that, and it is. There's a lot of information there. It's not a let's do it this way locked in. I'm not opposed to trying to make more parking there. I suspect we may run into some conflict with the master plan unless we specifically, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to express here is that it's I agree, it would be a good idea if the parking worked better, was safer, made better use of the space that's there, but can we do that independently of the master plan and just say, well, this would be an improvement and we can do this? We'd have to get somebody to come out and measure, draw up a plan and a proposal, and it's not trivial. It's not huge, but it would require more than just some park members going out there with their picks and shovels and mules and pushing rocks around.
True. I think we could act independently of the park master plan if that made sense. Personally, I think we're constrained by our physical size. Given the fact that we have so many people who bring 4x4s and Suburbans and that type of thing, and I've seen cars with our existing setup try to pull back. The reason those boulders are there is to prevent people from running over the trail and that sort of thing. So we're still going to need some form of barrier. And really, with the high 4x4s, what that really means, because I've seen it, is people pull back and their tires hit the rocks. The rocks may have been moved somewhat by people's vehicles moving them too. Also, if we do double row parking, it looks like we have one lane to try to drive through at most, and a tight lane at that. I don't think EMS and other emergency vehicles are going to be able to get in. And so there are safety concerns about getting emergency vehicles in to service the fields should any emergency arise that needs that, especially going back into that back parking lot, which I think, once again, limiting moving people in emergency situations, that type of thing needs to be kept open. So I just don't think we have the space to do that. I could see us temporarily laying out lines on the existing going over toward Western Hills' fence to see if that resulted in people parking in a more consistent and coherent, and maybe gaining a couple more spaces that way. I can see us doing that, like laying out temporary tape just to see if it worked, to see if we wanted to do something more permanent. But I don't think we can get 2 rows in there. That's all I've got to say about it.
I'm going to say we really do need to just face the fact that it's a physically, we don't have more space there. We're never going to be able to accommodate a lot more vehicles there. So we're going to have to look somewhere else for parking. Period.
Agree. Okay. Do I hear a motion in regards to this? I'll make a motion that I make a motion that we not make recommendations to city council to investigate this, because I just don't think we have the space to do it. So I make a motion that we stop discussing it.
Can I throw one thing in here?
Sure.
Wendy Hundley had, or some of us had talked about having the nudge people come and talk to us about the connecting trail. And Wendy Hundley had suggested maybe we have nudge come and talk to us about their whole vision of the plan. I've read through the plan a lot, and it's hard for me to say it is this. There might be, maybe we should postpone this until, I mean, I'm not saying postpone your motion, but as far as any action, that we wait until we get nudged to really clearly describe their thoughts on that. If they, I don't know if they put any engineering thought into this or not.
Well, Don, just so you know, the master plan is not this is the plan. These are some options for the plan. So it's not prescriptive, and we're looking at how do we keep more cars off Rollingwood Drive and use our parking area to its full potential. And I agree, Phil, that it probably just needs to be looked at more to see that if we can maximize it, but to say we won't look into it if that's all the parking that we have, I don't know where else we would find it other than on the streets.
I'm not saying we don't look into it. I'm saying,
I know, but that was the motion, so that's what I'm speaking to.
Okay, great.
I mean, I don't want to go spend a whole bunch of money, but at the same time, I don't know where the extra parking would appear.
I agree. We might get a couple more spaces out of there and.
I second the emotion.
So we're saying we want to.
We're still in the land of discussion, so I withdraw my motion.
Okay.
Because we're discussing it, obviously. So I withdraw my motion, but let's have discussion.
I would make a motion to put in simple little differentiating markers in that area along Western Hills Athletic Club. Let's just to see what we can get. It supports where the master plan is going. I'm looking at page 57 right now of the master plan. And in that proposal from Nudge, it shows that that could be the area that would be re-asphalted, realigned, and have designated parking spaces there. And I personally would make the recommendation to City Council to try to put some sort of simple differentiating parking spaces there just to see what happens. And it supports the master plan development without an exorbitant amount of cost.
Could we possibly do that temporarily, like layout? Is there any kind of a temporary laying out of lines or something like that?
Line it like you line a soccer field with lime or paint or.
Well, and that's where the city would make the recommendation. We're just making the recommendation of trying to get some temporary organizational parking to the area located, identified by number 5 on page 57 of the master park plan. And to see, do it as a trial and see if it substantiates the need for permanent parking with relation to that.
Is there a way, Nicole, is there a way for you to share that screen? I'm kind of limited on screens and pulling that up.
You're asking for a lot here, Phil.
I know. That's what I do. That's what I do. I ask for everything.
Let me see. You're really testing my abilities.
Don's got it.
Don's got it. Maximize Don's screen. I'm hoping Nicole can overwrite.
I take here. So here's the
the host has disabled the participant screen sharing. So I am not allowed to do it.
You're a co-host now, Nicole.
I have been handcuffed.
No, you're a co-host now. You've got full access. You aren't handcuffed.
Oh, good Lord. Now what do I do?
Happen.
Hold, shift. Oh, wait, hold on. Share. Let's see.
I didn't realize you were in a car. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Multitasking at its finest.
Okay.
I think it behooves us as a commission. I think it behooves us as a commission to come up to research as much as we can how to make our current parking lot more effective. It's nothing striped, and people park badly because of that, and it eats up space. And so I guess the motion would be to research possibilities to make our current parking lot more effective.
I think that's a great idea. I think there's definitely room for improvement in that parking lot. As a practical matter, when it's real busy out there, it turns into a single lane back and forth regardless, because you got people parallel parking along the boulders and you got people pulling into the fence by the Western Hills Athletic Club. So anything we can do to organize it and make it safer I'm all for it.
Then I'm going to suggest that you guys physically go up there and look at it and try to figure it out and come back with some ideas, because I've looked at it, unless they're pulling into that, there's no way to do it at the very back. I've looked at that and that's just dangerous. So unless they're doing it in that grassy area next to Western Hills Athletic, next to the pool, I just don't see how it's going to happen. So
I'm going to suggest that I'm not an expert on parking lots, so I'd rather have somebody else that could understand it a little bit more than me.
Okay, I can respect that. So maybe that's what we need to do, is find someone that.
Bill, I don't know how to share my screen. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine. I think Well, I see Wendy has her hand raised. I'd like to hear from Councilperson
Is she
Huntley.
on horseback?
I know. And yeah, this is my daughter Elizabeth had signed into my computer, so I'm sorry. I just wanted to say I'm glad that the Park Commission is looking into this. And what would be helpful is the motion that David made. It hadn't had a second yet, but that y'all research possibilities of the current parking. There are different options that are out there that are inexpensive, like putting those little survey whiskers up. There's things that are a little bit more expensive, like lining the parking spaces with limestone so that you could see where to park, or putting railroad ties, like as the bumpers where cars would park. And each of these options would have a little bit of different budget implications. So I think just, deciding what you all think would be what you would want to look into, and then we can figure out the budget. And budget season's coming up now. So at your next Park Commission meeting, y'all will have to start talking about any exemplary items that y'all want to put on your budget for next year that are above and beyond just the regular maintenance and operations of the park. So anything that isn't just keeping the doors open, you have to put in a request for the budget on that, either to City Council or to RCDC. So it'd be great to know kind of what y'all are thinking on this project, and get some budget numbers around it, because the city's not allowed to spend any money unless it's already budgeted for, or we have to come back and make a budget amendment, which can, depending on when council meets, can delay your project another 30 days if we have to make a budget amendment. So just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, Wendy, is we would need to come up with a set of ideas or maybe ideas and kind of rough numbers on what those might cost. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think y'all would need you have like in the park master plan, you have a set of ideas that was put together by Nudge Design. If you want to use that as a starting place, it would be a good starting place. And then you could price out what those things would cost. I think the survey whiskers would be nominal, and probably could be done by staff. The limestone edging might be more expensive. The rail ties, probably not as much as the limestone edging. So just come up with your specific recommendation at your next Park Commission meeting, and then have a basic budget amount would be helpful.
Can you give us an idea of what, I'm not familiar with what survey whiskers would be. Can you give us a
They're
description?
in that Nudge appendix, if I understand
Okay.
correctly. Wendy, I'm not trying to talk over you, but if I look at page 4 of 5 in appendix for the Rollingwood parking options under the master plan,
Okay,
it has these, they look like 6 inches long, but maybe 3 inches wide. And they kind of set as dividers, and they're spaced out maybe every 3 to 4 feet to kind of give you an idea of where to park your vehicles. Is
Okay.
that what you're referring to, Wendy, the whiskers? Or
Yeah, and I don't know, Ashley, are you able to share your screen on the appendix of the park master plan where we have our parking options, so that the public who might watch this meeting later could see what that means?
I don't
If-
have it up just at the moment. We're off the
Okay.
cloud for Zoom, but I can pull it up. It might be a few minutes.
Okay, that'd be great. I think just as this conversation goes on, it'd be helpful to just have that for y'all to look at the different options that were presented by Nudge. And that's not to say that those are the only options, but those are kind of inexpensive interim possibilities that you could do to just help organize the parking that they presented as part of the master plan.
great.
Okay,
Those
thank
would
you,
be
Wendy.
those
Thank you,
wires.
Wendy.
They're like
Can I
length of
interrupt? I'm
wire.
sorry, Don.
Oh, hold on. Hold on,
I'm
hold
sorry, I
on.
do need
Everybody,
that.
stop. Mary Elizabeth Kofer, I know you got your hand raised.
Okay.
Can I hear from you? You're muted, Mary Elizabeth.
I'm kind of in a crisis here. I can't see.
Understood.
I think I should leave the meeting. Is there
Okay.
something, wait, is there something y'all need me for before I leave them? I'm sorry, I had a surgery and it affected my vision. It's temporary. Is there something y'all need me for before I leave?
Anybody? I think we're okay, Mary Elizabeth. Please take care of your physical needs.
I'm real sorry. See
Not a
you.
problem.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us as long as you
take care,
could.
Mary Elizabeth. Hope you feel better.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Take care, Mary Elizabeth.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye. I do need to interrupt this time though, because I have to go now. I'm already past due. And
Understood, David.
I know there's a motion out there. Do I need to be here present even though I've made the motion?
I think,
There was not a second. So if we're gonna do a motion, if you want to state it again and get a second.
Okay, the motion being to research possibilities to improve our current parking lot. That's it.
okay, great. Motion by David Raymond, second by Lori Mills. We still have quorum, so I'm
I'm
gonna
in favor.
take a vote. Chad's aye, aye. Don, aye. I'm in favor as well. So motion passes unanimously.
Are there
And
any other votes we're going to be taking? Because with Mary Elizabeth gone, David gone, I have a hard stop at 10:50. So it looks like there's quite a bit left on the agenda with 20 minutes to go.
let's see, trying to look to see what we might bump around in order to get as much work done as possible. So we're making a recommendation to investigate the parking. And I'm assuming that Nicole, since you guys were already kind of taking the ball on that one, that you're gonna,
I'm happy to work with somebody. I can huddle up with somebody after this meeting and just get a subcommittee going. You bet.
okay. The only other items I see are reviewing the commercial rate structure and then also paint palette and stuff like that. I think if we're holding up making repairs and doing paint palette, can we possibly bump number 8 up next and get that working since we've got so much rain and things degrading? I think that might be a good thing to bump up next, and then maybe then we won't have quorum. So
All right, so whatever we need to talk about for
see.
quorum.
yes, we still have quorum. Let's discuss the paint palette and repairs next. If we
Okay,
could.
so I think Lori and I were working together on this during our March walkthrough. Lori was out with a gutter person and noticed that we have some wood damage that's on the field house, and we don't have a color paint palette that's been approved by Park Commission that gives the city staff authorization to go ahead and make these repairs. That's what we're bringing up for discussion today. And I'm not certain of where we get the paint palette from, or is that something that we bring to the commission and then recommend to the city? How can you advise us on that, please?
I know that they've been using just paint they find, and that has been unacceptable to some neighbors. So
To use paint we found, I will say that I think it was purchased, however, maybe not, not the best color. So to avoid any sort of pushback, so we could just go ahead and make the repairs, we would like for you all to tell us what colors you would like to see in the park.
I think a dark brown, I see on parks, usually there's a dark brown. There's kind of in other parks, I noticed there's, for instance, poles and things like that being dark brown, and then sometimes higher parts being green. But anyway.
It could even be more specific, not just dark brown. Dark brown
Understood.
means
We would have to, well,
pick out like a Behr or a Sherman-Williams or
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Manufactured brand, a Benjamin Moore, that we're going to say, these are the paint colors that we submit that are authorized for city to be able to make repairs. So Lori, since I know you have to go, I'm going to make a motion. Well, we can't make a motion because we don't have those paint colors. So how about between now and the July meeting, if you want to work with me on this, we'll go over to the Benjamin Moore shop, we'll get some paint samples and we'll bring them to the July meeting. And we'll say, these are the colors that we recommend for city to be able to use to make repairs.
I personally have dealt a lot with paint. Everybody I talk to says Behr is better, and I know you get that from Home Depot. I don't know.
And just
cheaper.
We would love guidance in your consideration, guidance for the field house, the pavilion, and even City Hall. if we could maybe make some changes there someday.
We could
Okay.
say it's a Benjamin Moore product, but a like-kind exchange. If Bear can match it, awesome.
Right.
If you have a distributor, if you have a particular place that you like to buy from, great, but this is your paint. Most of the major paint brands can match pretty
Yeah.
darn close, if not existing, and we'll give you the finish and we'll give you whatever we'd like, whether it's wood, metal, so on and so forth, for all areas of the park. That way you have it as a document.
Sounds great.
Excellent.
All right. We have agreement for you guys to come
So
back.
the motion is really not a motion. We're just going to bring it back for the next meeting to be able to present it to you, and then we'll make a motion on those paint colors.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Excellent. Thank you so much for doing all that work. And let's see, we still have quorum. If we're blasting through, we could try to look at commercial rate structures. Or ligustrums. So anyway, I'm okay with us bouncing off at this time. We're close to the 11 o'clock. So in our regards of keeping to an hour and a half, I don't know if we're going to be able to really cover rate structure in 15 minutes.
I
But
think we
I'm
can at least
game.
get some discussion going, because this is a pretty big deal.
It is.
And Don, as well as Phil and I don't mean to kind of step in here.
No,
Please
go for it.
feel free to, because I know Don did a lot of work on this. So I'm just trying to bring it to understanding, get a quick little dialogue about it. And then if we have to make a recommendation, we can do that. Or if we need to talk more about it next meeting. But basically, we're looking at the commercial rate structure, because it's $180 on an annual basis. And we are trying to be more aligned with Eanes ISD rate structure, and they operate on an hourly basis. And so we have two sort of proposals that we're recommending with y'all, since this I-9 sublease just came up last month. And they are now coming in, renting it for an hourly basis. It's inconsistent with what our commercial rate is right now, because we're not operating on an hourly rate structure. And so we have a couple different proposals. We can keep an hourly or a commercial lease flat fee, which we have a couple different tiers, so to speak, of nonprofit, profit, resident, and non-resident. And we can also discuss if we want to just switch everything over to an hourly rate, because we know Ignite is operating out there, I believe, 6 hours a week. Life Keto is operating 4 hours a week. We have Beat operating 2 hours a week, and we have another group that's operating 2 hours a week. And so there's a huge cost benefit to us, who we as a park commission struggle to raise dollars to support our M&O, that if we went to an hourly rate for everyone, we could improve our bottom line significantly. And so just wanted to share those two avenues of a flat rate versus an hour rate. And then if we want to be more consistent in line with Eanes ISD and what they do, to open that up for dialogue, pros and cons. And then I'm happy to dig deeper into other things as well.
I've got a couple of thoughts. One is, don't have a problem with hourly rate. I think it's important when looking at Eanes ISD to realize that they're more fully budgeted and subsidized by our tax dollars, as we're all very aware. So as far as what they're charging, I think they can do things much more cheaply, perhaps, than we do. I think us having as many commercial entities come in speaks to the fact that our rates are maybe low, or, at least are competitive. I know we would like to promote as much fitness and recreation in our park as possible, but I am also hearing concerns from some people that what we don't want to do is basically rent out all of our parkland and then not leave parkland available for mixed use and free play for instance, one person I heard from was saying that if all the fields are being rented and they have guests in from out of town and they want to go up to the fields and, you know, kick a soccer ball or throw a football or do whatever they want to do, they don't want all of our parkland to be rented out all the time. They want available parkland to do those activities. So those are the concerns that I will express. Don?
Nicole and Phil, the three of us met about this. I'd be happy to meet again and kind of chew this up. It seems to me we need to take our current rates, or the rates that we discussed, and my spreadsheet had 4 proposals on it. And I think the numbers there were fair. I'd always like to see them higher just because. But if we could maybe convert those into hourly rates, just to take a look at what that's like.
I did do a quick conversion on an hourly rate. Let me see if I can pull it up real fast. Sorry for not having this handy right now. Give me 1 second here. I know, Laura, you've got to bug out.
Yeah,
so-
I do. Maybe y'all can finish the discussion, and then maybe there's a proposal we can all vote on July 13th.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think
So
that's
like
where we're
right
at.
now, and this just real quick, just to kind of simmer on it over the next month. If we were to go just what Western Hills Little League is charging I-9 at the $25 flat rate per hour per field, and not saying that that's the number we've agreed to, but just for some, kicks and giggles here, if that commercial business were to want to rent our fields on a quarterly basis, if it was Life Keto, you're talking, it's almost $5,000 a quarter. It could be up to $18,000 annually for these businesses to be able to rent fields from us, that we right now have zero income coming other than pet paper program. So it's significant dollars. It's not just a couple $100. Right now we're $180 and we have 4 businesses. So that math is very, those numbers are very small compared to what we could get on an hourly basis.
I'm in agreement that we should go on an hourly basis. I do have a thought that, for instance, with the I-9, that maybe there's a different rate structure for renting fields 3, 4, and 5, just because that's a larger area than maybe 1 and 2. But I think an hourly structure totally works. I don't know what the hourly rate would be. And once again, I do think we need to give mind to not renting out all of our parkland all the time, to keeping some of it available for just free play. But
well, how about this? John, Phil, you and I, between now and the July meeting, let's huddle up again. Let's go the direction of more of the hourly rate versus the commercial rate structure. And then we'll present to the Park Commission next month some real facts and figures, and then hopefully be able to make a motion to City Council.
That sounds great. That sounds great.
Hey, this is Steve Frank with softball. If I could, I'd like to add kind of our 2 cents worth, both from softball and Chad. I know our boards have talked extensively about this, and, under the previous lease, I think we have always kind of held that, these groups using our fields, when we were paying for almost all the maintenance up there, were getting a sweetheart deal. And, we definitely are all for changing this commercial structure rate, and to make them accountable for paying for some of the maintenance up there. And I just want, at least on the sheet that's included, and I appreciate all the work, but if you use the 2 times a week at the hour, the lower rates were like $250 a year up to $1,000, and that equates to $2.50 an hour to $10 an hour at the most. And I still think that's pretty low, and, comparative to what I think the Park Commission started looking at this 4 years ago. And I believe, was it Marina Breland did a whole analysis of it and how we fit, when we were really the only renters, fit into how that compared to Eanes. And so Eanes starts their field rentals at like 20 an hour, and they go up to 65 to 70 an hour, depending on what fields they're using. And that's only like grass fields, not the higher end turf fields. And so when it was worked out for us, Little League and softball pay about 20 to 25 an hour for all the use of hours that we have our teams up there. And we would feel strongly, that, other commercial entities should basically pay around that same rate, and that we're not shouldering most of the burden to pay for the maintenance up there. I know we use it the most, but
Absolutely agree. Totally.
Yeah.
Steve.
so
And
that's
it's
just kind of our,
collaborate with you on this because you are a big stakeholder in it. And again, we feel the same, that our rates have been significantly low given the amount of usage that's there and the amount of folks that are using it. And then you are bearing a majority of that expense in there. And so we definitely want to collaborate with you and saying, that's what really prompted this, is to see when the I-9 was, renegotiated for this summer, as well as coming into this, is that we thought it's time to look at this more closely and to see the burden that the city is having just to have to maintain and operate when, those things are in use, and the cleaning of it. So we definitely would really appreciate knowing how, maybe you can sidebar with us when Don, Phil, and I meet.
Yeah, that's what I was going to propose. I would love to have you there, Steve.
yeah, I'd love to. And I think, it also kind of depends, I think if you've ever seen the Eanes list, it's very detailed about what space you can rent and what rates. So I think, without getting too detailed, that's probably the case, because some groups use like the field house right in front. And so maybe that shouldn't be as much of an hourly rate, but then some are actually using all of field 2, or, not all of it, but they're actually on field 2. So that I think there probably should be a few different rates for where, and as Phil mentioned, 3, 4, and 5, if somebody uses that is a little bit bigger space.
Well, and also, Eanes also has a structure if it's for-profit and non-for-profit. So non-profit is $18 an hour right now for a grass field. For-profit is $36. And so there's that other fine line too. So even though the pavilion might be a smaller scope and size, they're for-profit, and they're having their, 8 to 12 or 16 participants out there. And even though they're in a confined space, they're still for profit. And again, so I think all of those variables we should take into consideration. And if you're willing to meet with us, I think we can all collaborate and bring some real structure to the Park Commission next meeting, and then be able to make a recommendation to city.
Yeah.
I would love to be involved.
Love to have you there.
Nicole, do you want to try to schedule that meeting as we're all gathered here? I'm pretty open this week.
I really don't want to take time away from, we've still got 3 or 4 more items, and we've got 4 minutes left before we hit that 90-minute cutoff. So let's just kick around an email thread and go from there.
Sure.
That sounds great. Okay, so we're gonna get together. Trying to see what we got. We got Ligustrum and moving the Park Commission to 90 minutes. So discussion on Ligustrums. We got 4 minutes.
I make a motion that we table this indefinitely. It's been lingering out there, and it seems to propose a bigger problem for erosion if we were to remove the Ligustrums. And
I think the biggest thing we need to do is figure out what we can plant to retain the existing soil before we even think about removing any Ligustrums. I mean, we would have to put something else there first, and start getting that established to hold that ground before we start taking out Ligustrums, for sure.
I wasn't part of this originally. I think it was Colleen, maybe you, Phil, and maybe Mary Elizabeth.
I was on.
Don, it was me, Don, and Colleen.
So I'll let you 2 run with this one.
Well, I said my piece.
Somebody other than me to think about it. That's sort of arborist and kind of a heavy duty landscape professional. those would be the actions, would be to engage somebody like that, and there would be some money that would have to be spent. I doubt Nudge really touched on that. That's.
Well,
so-
coming back to Wendy's point, I think that it might be that we somehow get rough numbers on what it might take to get an expert or an arborist. I think usually they charge about $150 an hour or something like that to come out and make recommendations. And we could maybe put that on to make a proposal to get that budgeted for, to investigate it from somebody who actually is an expert in this area.
Well, like Randy mentioned, if we think that we're going to want to do this in the next year, we'd have to have that exemplary item into our budget for next meeting. So I don't know if y'all can huddle up with somebody and have a proposed idea of what those costs would be. Otherwise, we would be out of cycle for our budget.
Yeah, understood.
Does the
I
city
will
have-
take on trying to research this, and if it can get done and get it into the next meeting, then I can put that into the next meeting with some kind of numbers. And if I can't get it done, then I'm right with you, Nicole. We don't want to rip out the ligustrums and just create a landslide. That is not in anyone's best interest. So I will take on trying to get some rough numbers of how many hours a professional arborist might think it would take to put together some kind of a comprehensive plan and that type of thing, and get a rough budget. I will look into that. And with that, we're at 10:59. Do I hear a motion? Anyone?
There's 11 and 12 that we didn't discuss. Is that okay?
It's drainage. Yeah, I mean, 12 is park budget. I mean, I don't know. We still have.
11 is drainage.
I think you'll discuss the park budget. You've got your marching orders on that. Get your numbers together and have something ready for your next meeting. And then the other one was drainage.
Yeah,
Drainage, I can speak to. Mary Elizabeth and I walked around on our little monthly walk, and the area over by the playscape, we talked about possibly extending that wall all the way to the north to hook into the limestone wall and putting a French drain there underneath it to solve the erosion problems. Nothing we need to kind of worry about right now, but just planting that seed that if there's an existing drain pipe going down underneath the trail. And if we extended that wall, put a French drain in there and then tied into that existing drain pipe, I think it'd go a long way to solving those erosion problems.
You're talking the upper playscape. There's
the upper playscape, exactly. Just moving there's a wall right there that if you extended that all the way into straight across to that limestone wall on the jogging trail or the walking trail, and then put a French drain underneath it and tied into the drainage pipe that's existing going underneath the trail, I think it would solve those erosion problems. Mary Elizabeth and I talked about it.
Amber, do you think that's something that Chad and Mary Elizabeth could meet with Vicky and see if it's a possibility to do it from city staff side?
Sure. Yeah, I think they could meet with Vicky and Carrie, and I think that's a good
to do that. And I think Mary Elizabeth was on board with it too.
Okay, well, if she's not, then we'll have another park commissioner jump in, so you can reach out. But yeah, I think Mary Elizabeth would like to be involved if possible. So that
I'll have Carrie reach out to Mary Elizabeth and Chad and Vicky and ask for a meeting.
Sounds perfect. Thank you so much, Amber.
That'd be great. And Nicole, I'll help out with the striping on the parking lot if you want.
Yes, thank you so much. That would be
That would
awesome.
That'd be great. That would be great. All right. Thank you, Chad. With that,
Motion to adjourn our meeting.
I have a motion by Nicole Marisi to adjourn the meeting. Do I hear a second? second by Chad. All those in favor say aye. Aye, wave. Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you all. Have a great day.
See you guys. Bye.